Welcome to our YouTube channel, The Alien Tales, and please ensure that you have subscribed.
She's slowly transforming me into her species. I'm forgetting what being human felt like. It started with blue veins and heightened senses. Now I dream in colors humans can't see. Soon I won't remember Earth at all. The crash site still smoldered when I found her. Twisted metal scattered across the Nevada desert like fallen stars. Kestra lay unconscious beneath what remained of her ship's hull. Her skin an impossible shade of pearl that seemed to shift between silver and white in the moonlight. Blue veins traced delicate patterns across her face and arms, pulsing with their own ethereal glow. I should have called the authorities. Should have backed away from this obviously extraterrestrial being. Instead, something pulled me forward, a magnetic attraction I couldn't explain. When I touched her shoulder, electricity shot through my fingertips, and her eyes snapped open, revealing irises like liquid starlight. "You're hurt?" I whispered. Though she showed no visible wounds, she studied me with those impossible eyes, tilting her head as if listening to music I couldn't hear. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that made my bones resonate. Garrett Pierce, age 31, biochemist, unmarried, lonely. She smiled, and I felt something fundamental shift inside my chest. "I am Kestra of the Luminary. My vessel is damaged beyond repair. How do you know my name? Your thoughts sing to me." She struggled to sit up, her hand finding mine. Where our skin touched, I felt warmth spread up my arm, followed by a strange tingling sensation. "I require sanctuary while I heal. Will you help me?" I nodded before I could think to refuse. That night, I carried an alien woman to my remote cabin, having no idea that her touch had already begun changing me at a cellular level. The transformation had started, subtle as morning frost, irreversible as time itself. 3 days after bringing Kestra home, I noticed the first change while shaving. A thin blue line ran along my jawline, barely visible but unmistakably there. I rubbed at it frantically, but it wouldn't fade. By evening, matching veins had appeared on my wrists and temples. "What's happening to me?" I demanded, finding Kestra in my living room, somehow more radiant than before. She looked up from the strange device she was repairing, salvaged from her ship's wreckage. "The bonding process has begun. I should have warned you, but your species typically reacts with fear to the truth." "What bonding process?" Panic crept into my voice. "Among my people, when we find our life mate, our essences merge gradually. Your cellular structure is adapting to match mine." She set down her work and approached me with fluid grace. "The blue veins carry luminous energy. Your body is learning to process light as sustenance." I stumbled backward. "You're changing me into what you are, only if you accept the bond willingly. Resistance will slow the process, but proximity to me makes reversal impossible." Her expression softened with genuine concern. "I did not choose this, Garrett. My kind bonds for life with our perfect genetic complement. The moment I touched you, I knew you were mine, and if I don't want to become an alien," pain flickered across her features, "then you will fight the change until it drives you mad, and I will wither without my mate." She turned away. "Perhaps you should have left me in the desert." I stared at the blue veins mapping new paths across my skin, feeling something deeper than blood flowing through them. The world exploded into sensation over the next week. Colors became more vivid, sounds sharper, textures almost overwhelming against my increasingly sensitive skin. I could smell rain approaching from miles away and hear conversations through walls. Most disturbing of all, I began sensing people's emotions like radio frequencies. "This is temporary discomfort," Kestra assured me as I sat hunched over my kitchen table, hands pressed against my temples. "Your neural pathways are expanding to accommodate new sensory input." "It's too much," I groaned. "I can hear your heartbeat from across the room. I can smell every person who's walked past this house in the last 3 days." She knelt beside my chair, her presence immediately soothing. "Focus on my voice. Let me show you how to filter the input." Her fingers touched my forehead, and suddenly the chaos organized itself into manageable streams of information. I could still perceive everything, but now I could choose what to focus on. "How did you do that?" "Mental connection is natural for Luminari. We share consciousness with our bonded mates. She smiled, and I felt her emotions directly. Deep affection mixed with worry for my well-being. Can you sense what I'm feeling? The answer was yes, and it terrified me. Her love for me was absolute, ancient as starlight despite having known me for barely 2 weeks. In return, I felt my own feelings shifting, deepening beyond human capacity. I'm losing myself, I whispered. No, she said firmly. You're becoming more than you were. The human you is not disappearing. It's evolving, expanding to accommodate new dimensions of existence. But as her emotions flowed through our growing connection, I wondered if I'd recognize myself much longer. The first color I saw that had no human name appeared in my dreams. It existed somewhere between purple and silver but was neither, a shade that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. I woke with tears streaming down my face, having witnessed beauty that no human language could describe. You're seeing in the luminary spectrum now, Kestra explained when I told her about the dream. Your optical nerves are adapting to perceive wavelengths invisible to standard human vision. She led me outside into what I had always considered ordinary sunlight. Now I saw streams of energy flowing through the air, aurora-like patterns dancing between the trees. The sky wasn't just blue anymore. It was layered with dozens of colors I had no words for, each one singing a different frequency of light. This is how you see the world, I breathed. This is how we see the universe. She pointed to a nearby oak tree. Watch! The tree pulsed with living energy, roots glowing beneath the earth, branches reaching toward the sun with purposeful intent. I could see its life force, the conversations it held with other plants through underground networks of light. Everything is connected, I whispered, understanding flooding through me. Now you begin to see as the luminary see. Energy is consciousness, consciousness is energy. All beings are part of one vast network of light. She took my hand, and I felt her presence merge more deeply with mine. This is why we travel the stars, to connect with other nodes of consciousness, to expand the network of understanding. I stared at my reflection in her ship's metal hull, seeing my own energy patterns for the first time. The blue veins had spread across my entire body, creating intricate mandalas of light beneath my skin. I was becoming something magnificent and terrible, and I could no longer remember why I had been afraid. My childhood memories began fragmenting 3 weeks into the transformation. I'd reach for recollections of birthday parties or school days and find them fading like morning mist. Instead, new memories surfaced. Ancient images of crystal cities beneath alien stars, knowledge of technologies that Earth hadn't yet dreamed of. Are these your memories? I asked Kestra, describing visions of beings made of living light dancing in zero gravity. They belong to the collective consciousness of my people. As you bond with me, you gain access to our shared experiences spanning millions of years. She touched my forehead gently. What human memories are you losing? I struggled to focus. My mother's face is becoming unclear. I remember she had brown hair, but I can't picture her smile anymore. Panic rose in my throat. I'm forgetting my own species. The human experiences are not lost. They're being integrated into a larger framework of existence. You are becoming something new, Garrett. Not human, not luminary, but a bridge between worlds. But that night, I sat staring at old photographs, trying desperately to remember the sound of my father's laugh or the taste of my grandmother's cookies. The memories felt like stories someone had told me rather than experiences I had lived. In their place, I now knew the true names of stars, could navigate by pulsars, understood the mathematics of faster-than-light travel. I possessed knowledge that would revolutionize human science, but I was losing the emotional connections that had made me human. Is this what love is supposed to feel like? I asked the empty room, looking at a photo of my college girlfriend. I remembered that we had dated, remembered facts about our relationship, but the feelings were gone, replaced by an overwhelming connection to Kestra that dwarfed all previous emotional experiences. The transformation was accelerating. My reflection no longer looked entirely human. The blue veins had evolved into complex geometric patterns that shifted and flowed beneath my increasingly translucent skin. My eyes now held flecks of silver that caught light like tiny stars, and my hair had begun to thin as my scalp showed the first hints of the bioluminescent patches common to Kestra's people. The physical transformation typically takes 6 months, Kestra explained as she ran her fingers through my changing hair. Your bone density is increasing to handle the energy flows, and your cellular structure is learning to photosynthesize. I examined my hands, watching energy pulse through the visible patterns. Will I still look human when it's finished? You will look like what you are becoming, a hybrid, something new in the universe. The first of your kind. She kissed my forehead, and I felt her genuine excitement through our mental link. My people will be fascinated by what you represent. What about my job? My life here? I gestured at my laboratory, filled with equipment that seemed increasingly primitive compared to Kestra's technology. Your work in biochemistry prepared you for understanding this transformation. You could continue your research, but with capabilities your human colleagues could never achieve. She smiled. Or you could come with me when my ship is repaired. See worlds where the science you love takes forms you cannot imagine. I looked at my reflection again, trying to find Garrett Pierce in the being staring back at me. He was still there, but buried deeper each day beneath layers of alien understanding and non-human perception. Do you miss being entirely luminary? I asked. I am becoming something new as well, she admitted. Bonding with you is changing me too. I am gaining human intuition, emotional depth my people rarely experience. We are creating something unprecedented together. The idea should have comforted me, but I grieved for the human I would never be again. The first time I connected to the luminary collective consciousness, I nearly lost myself entirely. It happened without warning. One moment I was helping Kestra repair her ship's communication array. The next I was floating in an ocean of shared thoughts spanning galaxies. Thousands of voices sang in harmonious complexity, each representing a luminary mind connected across space and time. I experienced memories of worlds beyond counting. Crystalline forests that sang symphonies, cities built from living coral in space, beings of pure energy dancing in the hearts of stars. Welcome, Bridge Builder, the collective whispered. We have been waiting for one such as you. I tried to respond but discovered I had no individual voice in this vast network. Panic set in as I felt my consciousness dissolving into the greater whole. Then Kestra's presence wrapped around me like a protective barrier, pulling me back to individuality. I gasped, finding myself collapsed on my laboratory floor with her arms around me. The first connection is always overwhelming, she said, concern radiating through our bond. You tried to access too much at once. I almost disappeared, I whispered, still shaking. All those voices. How do you maintain your sense of self? Practice. The network is not meant to erase individuality but to enhance it. Each consciousness contributes unique perspectives to the whole. She helped me to my feet. With time, you will learn to navigate the collective while maintaining your core identity. What did they mean by bridge builder? You are the first human to successfully bond with a luminary. Through you, your entire species could eventually join the network. You represent the possibility of expanding consciousness beyond our current limitations. The weight of that responsibility settled on my shoulders like a gravitational field. I was becoming something unprecedented, a living connection between two forms of life that had never intersected before. Sleep became a journey to impossible places. Every night, I dreamed of worlds I had never seen with senses I had never possessed. I walked through forests of crystalline trees that chimed in the wind, their branches creating melodies that told the history of entire civilizations. I swam in oceans of liquid light where thoughts took physical form and danced around me like luminous fish. Most vivid were the dreams of Kestra's homeworld, Luminera. I stood in cities that defied physics, spires of condensed starlight reaching into aurora-filled skies, inhabited by beings who communicated through patterns of bioluminescence. The very air sparkled with consciousness, and I could feel the planet itself thinking, aware, welcoming. These are not dreams, Kestra told me when I described floating through caverns where music had crystallized into living sculptures. You are accessing the collective memory. Your consciousness is learning to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. But I've never been to these places. Your bonded consciousness has. Through me, you inherit the experiences of my people. In time, you will visit these worlds not in dreams but in reality. She touched my hand, and I felt her longing for home mixed with her commitment to me. Would you like to see Luminera? The question hung between us like a bridge I wasn't sure I was ready to cross. To see her world would mean accepting that Earth was no longer my only home. It would mean embracing an identity that transcended human limitations. When your ship is repaired? I asked quietly. The ship will be ready within days. But the choice is yours, Garrett. You could stay here, maintain your connection to humanity while developing your new abilities. Or I could leave Earth entirely. You could become the first human to join the greater community of conscious beings, to see wonders beyond your species' current imagination. In my dreams that night, I stood at the edge of everything I had ever known, looking into infinity. Kestra's ship hummed with restored power, its crystalline hull reflecting the dawn light in patterns that hurt my still partially human eyes. She stood at the threshold, luminous and ethereal, waiting for my decision. The transformation is nearly complete, she said, though I could feel her words directly through our mental connection now. If you come with me, the process will finish during the journey to Luminera. If I stay, I'll be alone, the only being of my kind on a world that no longer feels like home. I looked around at my laboratory, my house, the life I had built as a human. Everything seemed small and dim compared to the cosmic vistas I now perceived. You would not be alone. I can remain here with you, though. She paused, and I felt her internal conflict. Though I would eventually weaken without connection to my people. The choice was impossible. Stay and condemn the being I loved to a slow death, or leave and abandon my entire species forever. There is a third option, she said softly, reading my thoughts. You could come with me initially, learn about your new nature among my people, then return to Earth as an ambassador. You could be the bridge that brings your species into the greater community of consciousness. Would I still be connected to you across that distance? Our bond transcends space. You would carry part of me always, and I part of you. She approached me, and her presence felt like coming home. But you must choose freely without coercion. This decision will shape not just your future, but potentially the future of both our species. I closed my eyes and reached out with my expanding senses, feeling the life force of every creature on Earth, the singing network of consciousness that connected all things. Somewhere in that vast web, I found my answer. I choose expansion, I whispered. I choose to become more than I was. She smiled, and starlight danced in her eyes. 6 months later, I stood on the observation deck of a luminary research vessel, watching Earth recede into the star-scattered darkness. My reflection in the transparent aluminum showed a being that bore only distant resemblance to Garrett Pierce. Skin like pearl shot through with flowing patterns of light, eyes that held the depth of space, consciousness that spanned dimensions. Do you regret your choice? Kestra asked, joining me at the viewport. She had changed too during our bonding, her ethereal nature now tempered with human warmth and intuition. I mourn what I've lost, I admitted, but I celebrate what I've gained. Through our connection, she felt the complex mixture of grief and wonder that had become my constant companion. I remember being human the way you might remember childhood, with fondness, but without desire to return to that limited state. And your mission? I smiled, feeling the weight of purpose that had replaced my old human drives. When I return to Earth, I'll carry proof that consciousness can transcend biological boundaries, that love can bridge the gap between species, that humanity need not face the universe alone. The first human to achieve transcendence, she murmured. The first, but not the last. I placed my hand against the viewport, sending a pulse of thought toward the blue-green world growing smaller behind us. Somewhere down there, other humans were living their brief, brilliant lives, unaware that one of their own had found a path to something greater. The transformation was complete. I was no longer human, no longer entirely luminary, but something new. A bridge between worlds, a proof of possibility, a love story written in the language of evolving consciousness. As Earth disappeared into the cosmic dark, I felt not loss but anticipation. I was going home to a world I had never seen, carrying the best of humanity forward into an infinite universe of light. The stars sang welcome, and I finally understood their song.